Hi OCC kids, welcome back to another Message Monday. This week we are learning all about the time that Jesus raised a widow's son from the dead. If you haven't watched our Bible story, you can watch that video first, or you can read Luke 7 with your family. You'll want to read the part about Jesus healing the widow's son, and then also the part a little bit past that about John the Baptist's messengers coming to Jesus and asking about who he is. So our grade schoolers this week are focusing on how Jesus' coming fulfilled God's promises, and we are going to use this Rubik's Cube to help remind us of that. We are going to pretend that each of these little squares on the Rubik's Cube is like a prophecy or a promise God made about Jesus. There were lots of things that God told the people that Jesus would be, or where he would come from, or what he would do before he was even here. And at first people were kind of confused about how God's promises were all lining up, and then as Jesus was here, things started lining up and they started figuring out who he was. So I want you guys to think of some promises God made about Jesus. If you have a Rubik's Cube at home, I know some of you got them from church yesterday. You have, if you have an expo marker, you can, these are dry erase, and you can write little letters or draw something on them that reminds you of prophecies that were made about Jesus, if that helps you, or you can just think of them. Some of you mentioned that God promised that Jesus' birth would be a miracle, that he would be a descendant of David, that he would be a descendant of Abraham, that he would be born in Bethlehem, that he would die for us and suffer for us. So all of these little squares are going to represent those promises. And in the Bible story, John the Baptist's messengers come to Jesus and they say, are you the one we've been waiting for? And he says, basically what he says is, well, the blind are seeing and the deaf are hearing and the lame are walking and people who couldn't talk are talking and the dead are rising again. He was like, who do you think I am? So a lot of you pointed out yesterday that that's just like our Bible memory verse that's Isaiah wrote about 700 years before. So Jesus helped people see that God's promises were coming into line. And this instruction page, which is the Rubik's Cube algorithm, which is also in my head, so I'm going to put it down. But this represents Jesus. Jesus, when he came, just like these instructions are going to help us line up the Rubik's Cube, Jesus helped everybody see how God's promises were lining up. And when we follow the instructions, when people followed Jesus, they saw how God was working everything out and putting it in order. So I hope that reminds you of how Jesus' coming helped fulfill God's promises. See you guys.